Look, my little friend. Hi, Tigray. Hello. Hi. It's very nice to see you again. Thanks so much for coming to watch my video. I really am shocked at how many people have looked at my previous video on the sheets. I honestly didn't think anybody would not only remember me, but care to watch anything I was doing after being away for so long. But thank you so much. And today I want to put, first of all, a disclaimer that I am going to be talking about my first forays into historical costuming, but I am not a costumer. I am not an expert in historical fashion. If you are looking for someone that knows lots and lots of technicalities and history and the intricacies of all that, there are so many wonderful, amazing YouTubers that you could watch. I am not one. I am only here to give you my opinions, my experience, things I learned, things that I messed up, things that I found quite humorous along the process, and ultimately my final product. So if that interests you at all, if you maybe are thinking of getting into historical costuming and maybe you're feeling intimidated that you're not like an expert and it's very overwhelming, there's so much fabric, there's so many different techniques that maybe you don't use to make just simple clothing like that we make today, maybe you would find some of the things that I experienced interesting, or maybe if you are a historical costumer, you'll find this all extremely humorous. And in that case, please feel free to watch, because I admit I'm just learning. I've been sewing for many years, but I have never done anything like this. So a lot of this stuff was very like, whoa, very new to me. So I guess I'm going to start with, this is the first dress that I have ever done that's anything like a historical costume. At what time period exactly this would be, I don't know. I'm going to make the incredibly sincere mistake of saying 18th century, of which obviously the entire 18th century was not one style. I get that. However, I did do some research and I was not able to conclusively understand what exactly to call this style. I really do like it. I don't even know if this is exactly historically accurate because of the pattern that I used. I used the Butterick 3640, and it's this one right here. So to me, that kind of has a, it kind of looks like a fancy peasant, as opposed to the other one, which is a little more like, she looks like a fancy rich lady. Is this separate outer dress and the skirt. And they had an option to make this, but I had just used a piece of, it's actually a dresser scarf that I had, really just because at the end of this project I was sincerely tired and lazy, and that's what I wanted to do. So I'm going to kind of talk you through what I did from the outside in. That's probably the totally opposite way, because usually the most important thing I have learned about these garments is to be historically accurate. You start from the inside out, and that builds the silhouette for the dress, and not so much just, in other words, you wouldn't just wear this dress over your bare body. There's the corset slash stays, we'll get into that later, and as well as the bum pad, which is my favorite name for something ever. And just like, how many times today can you just say your bum pad? Well, me personally, I don't talk about my bum pad because I don't wear one, but back then apparently that's what they called it. So this has some boning in it. It has the boning not on the outside of the dress, but in the inside, in the lining. First of all, I want to talk about these pleats. There was a lot of things that I found about this pattern. As much as I was being as meticulous as I could be and being so careful and working really slow, there were some things that I found that I'm going to blame it on myself, but I think it may have been part of the design. But again, I'm talking just my own experience. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. This pattern could be like top-notch perfection and maybe I just screwed it up. But I found that this was really weird, how the pleats just kind of fell in this kind of swoopy, and there was nothing I could do to make them fall just straight. So that was one thing that kind of bothered me. The other thing that was really strange is this part here. As much as I did, again, exactly what they asked, this tends to pull kind of this way and puckers up. And that's really annoying. I hope you can see what I'm talking about here. This part is just, it tends to do kind of like this, and it smushes itself. You have to constantly kind of hold it. And I almost feel like maybe they should have asked you to interline this with, I don't know, some kind of buckram or something like that, to make it more substantial rather than just a lining. If I were to make this again, I would definitely put something in there, because you can tell it just was too flimsaroo there. I did put the hooks and eyes in here. I did cheat, and I used the hook and eye on the tape, like the twill tape, and sewed it all in, and then I put the corresponding eyes all the way up. So that made that a lot easier. Probably not historically accurate, however, that's what I did. The other thing I noticed is that the same pulling ended up happening up here. And this all right here, and I mean, I was careful how I cut this, and it was exactly on grain, and it did also, oops, it's not attached, obviously. It did the puckaroo too, and that is really upsetting to me, because I know that I did that right. But nevertheless, now the sad thing about this dress, after all the work that I put into it, is that I started it probably around December of last year, and towards the end of December, I ended up giving up all carbs and sugar, and I never knew that that was something that, for me personally, would enable me to lose weight so quickly, but it did. And now this dress is massively big on me. So this mannequin was not, it was my original size, and then I had, you know, over, let's just say, lockdown, etc., I'd put on a bit. Now it is this much too big for me. So I am unable to wear it, because I am not going to take it apart, including the lining and the boning and the da-da-da-da-da, and try to do it again, and all the pleating. I am not going to do that. It is just what it is. Maybe one day somebody will borrow it, or I don't know, maybe I'll just use it for something else. I'll take it apart and do something else with the fabric, because I do love the fabric. But I think I got the silhouette right for the fit anyway, if this had been my size, because it does have the bum pad under it, and I think the fit was really good through there and the seams. But again, I was very kind of disappointed how this turned out. Now, if we're going to open this up, they did not get dressed in a hurry back then either. That is something I realized. Holy moly. I can just take the scarf off, and before I talk about the lining, I just wanted to, I did make a hat. I did not end up wearing this hat when I did have photos taken, but I did make a hat. So, but this fabric that I used, it's like a faux leather upholstery type of thing. This fabric, this hat is heavy. So my little baby thin hair could not support this hat. No matter what, if I put it on my head, it just like deflated any kind of poof that I had. So, but anyway, I am happy with that, and I will wear it one day. So I did do the lining in a extremely non-historical fabric, which I'm not so sure that leopard print was the rage back then, but nevertheless, that's what I used. And because I had it, and I didn't want this project to encompass a tremendous amount of money being put out when I wasn't even sure I was going to like doing historical costuming or recreating, or anyway, I didn't know if I was going to like it. I really didn't want to spend a lot of money, so I kind of used what I had on hand, and I figured no one's going to see it but me. But now you all are seeing it too. The petticoat was kind of a disappointment. I mean, this went together like just so easily. It was very, very simple to put together. It's very wrinkled right now because it's silk. I had ordered this from Etsy. This was an extreme disappointment. This feels like the cheapest cheapie of cheapiness for like lining fabric. It apparently is silk, but it does not. It's absolutely dreadful. It's completely see-through. It's just garbage silk. So just like the old adage, you buy cheap, you buy again. I did end up making another petticoat. Didn't learn my lesson the first time and ordered more fabric from Etsy. Did not order silk, but this was equally dreadful. It was like a crepe back satin, and the satiny side, I mean, it's nasty, and I don't even know. I couldn't even stand this either. I ended up just wearing this one when I had photos taken. But in any event, I'll just take this off. So I'll just show you the inside of the construction. I did finish it with bias tape, and I mean, I think it came out pretty well. So we'll put that one aside. For the corset slash stays, I'm still not exactly sure. I haven't done a lot of research on this to know when it's a corset, when it stays. I went by the American Duchess pattern 8162 by Simplicity, and that's what I used. Very, very nice pattern. I use that for the bum pad. I use that for the corset slash stays, as well as the chemise underneath. Now, the strange thing is, for this, it says Mrs. 18th century undergarments. Okay, so that's generalizing it too, so it's not just me. But it calls it a corset. So my understanding of this style during that time period, these were stays, but I don't know. Again, hashtag not an expert. So I don't know if you all out there, if anybody's watching this that knows the difference. I thought these were stays, but it's clearly calling it a corset. So anyway, I'm just learning as I'm going along, but I did love this pattern. I am making another chemise that I originally had put the little ruffaloo on there, and I ended up taking that off because it was going to have the scarf to cover this part, so it didn't really need a ruffle, but I did keep the little ruffly, and I used like an eyelet for the sleeves. And the chemise, I actually used a thrifted bed sheet because why not? Why spend money on muslin or cotton or whatever? So I will take off the petticoat just to show you more of the corset slash stays. There's the bum pad. And yes, I did not use historical ribbon for these ties, not at all. But again, it was I had it on hand, as well as the lime green ribbon to lace up. Okay, so there you can see the bum pad. She's got a nice little Kardashian-esque booty there. And then there she is. And I'm really happy with how this came out from my first ever corset. I had done obviously all machine sewed, but then I had hand stitched all the binding on. I realized now that I had used like a bajillion more teeny weeny tiny little hand stitches than I had to use. It was a little unnecessary, kind of overkill, but I did enjoy the process of the hand sewing. I hand sewed it front and back on the inside as well. My eyelets I had done by hand, first time ever doing those as well. I'm not thrilled at how I did them, but they work, they're good. And then I used two different fabrics that actually my mom had given me. They were like fabric remnants that she had, and I just put them together. And I really like how that came out. I did have one little spot right here. Is it there? Yeah, right here that the fabric is kind of frayed away a little bit from the hand sewing, but I can mend that. And yeah, that was the back. And so I really did like that. It's just lined in the inside with more of the bed sheet that the chemise is made of. So the thing that I learned about making the corset is that you have to make this, like, I would say like a size smaller than you are, because it's not so much that sort of myth of, you know, you put it on and you kind of like, you know, suck it in, but this was your bra back then, and you needed it to have support, you know, to like hold you up and hold you in, so you're not just jiggle jaggling around the place. And I found out that I did that, and it really was amazingly comfortable. And I never would have known that had I not tried this whole process. It actually was very, very comfortable. Now, not easy to get into because I was not doing the whole, you know, unlace it and then lace you back up in it when you put it on and off. So I was really like arms up and like kind of shimmy my way into it when I put it on. I think if I had done better eyelets and I could get in and out of there easier, but this is in here. I'm not gonna be fiddling with pulling the ribbon out and putting it back in over and over. This is it. So I just loosen it as much as I can and then shimmy in and tighten myself back up. I find it very interesting that it has, you know, the neckline of the dress is out here, and the neckline of the chemise is out here, and the neckline of the straps of the corset / stays are out here. And I had trouble keeping all those things on my shoulders. Like, it just, no matter what I did, and I realized that the dress was a little too big and that could have had something to do with it, but also the corset now fit me completely fine around, like I was cinched in just perfectly all around. But it's these little straps, and you can see they're laced up as much as they can be. It just, maybe I needed to make this a size smaller. I don't know. But that was an experience that I had that really was frustrating, because if I just like breathed, everything was kind of like falling hither and yon. And so that's something that going forward I have to kind of figure out a little better. No respect. Absolutely no respect. Would you kindly get out of there? No. Okay. Sorry. Woo. So on to the next dress. Oh, before, I just wanted to show, this was the photo that, I'm trying to do it without the glare. This was the photo that I had just taken. I just use my self timer. And I had gone and done a red wig for it, because I did try to shoot this dress before this photo, and I tried my darndest to foof my hair up into any kind of style that would have been what they did back then, but my hair was just so baby fine. And even with, I think I had, you know, tried to stuff it with kind of the little hair rats inside, my hair just was not having it. Like, this is teased up today and it's still, it's so baby fine. It should be up like this, but it's just kind of sagged down just as I'm doing the video. So I had done red. Probably not the historical accurate color to do, but I wanted to do my own thing. Also just wanted to add that I had forgot to show these when I was showing the different layers of the dress, but I had made some pockets and I really love them. I know this is not, again, perfectly historically accurate, most likely, but I absolutely love them, and that's the whole thing. I wanted to make something that I would love. Okay, so the next dress that I did was this pattern that is also an American Duchess pattern, Simplicity 8411, and I believe this was the dress that is very similar to the one that Claire wore in Outlander. But this was really fun to make. This one I learned a lot. I learned about cartridge pleating. I learned about making panniers. I learned about all of the boning and the bodice being one piece. And that was a serious trip. I thought from the beginning, there's no way you're going to be able to make this. There's no way. You do not know enough. You do not have the techniques or the understanding of how to do all this stuff. And you know what? I ended up doing it. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I was very satisfied with the result. Now, it also comes with the panniers, which is the little side supports. Now, the last one had a bum pad. This one has like little hips. But these were the panniers. Now, the fabric that I used to make this dress, this was a vintage fabric that I found in a antique mall, and it was the entire, how much did I need to do this? It was the entire over 8 yards. Yeah, 8¼ yards, I think, without my glasses. I think that's what it says. And it was on the roll for $15. And I thought, that is not the ideal fabric, but that is a good enough price that I love the way it looks. I think it's really beautiful. It still has that red dress look, but it is not going to break the bank. So I won't feel so bad if I mess it up or I really don't like it. I was very, very happy with this. But this is like a vintage type bark cloth fabric. And I don't know if you've ever felt that, but it is weighty. It is heavy. It is something that is like so unwieldy to work with that it's like you're wrestling a living thing as you're trying to make something. It was not the ideal fabric, but it came out. I really like it, and therefore these panniers, because the fabric was so weighty on the skirt, I made them, and then I took them apart and remade them with double boning in here, because there was no way that it was going to give that kind of silhouette unless I did that. I made them originally and I put this heavy skirt on and it literally just went whoop. So Even this, it still was not enough support, but it got the job done. And I'm really happy that these were really easy to make, very comfortable to wear. Kind of funny as you're going through doorways, because I did bang around a lot as I was walking through the house the day that I took the pictures. It was kind of funny. I'll show it to you. So here she is. I love her. I love the fabric. I just love this style, and I love the technique. Now, she did have quite a bit of cleavage, as the dress that I noticed that Claire from Outlander, I mean, that's super duper cleavage, and because I have a larger chest, that would not have been, I want to say, tasteful, I think. Even if I had been around in those days, I think I would have toned it down a little bit. When this is on, actually, it looks like it's lower than it is, but it's not really. It's not at the level of being obscene, I don't think. You can see on here, again, sorry, I should have shown you these before. They were in the glass, but you can see it's not, it's very nice. I think it's very of that period, and it gives a really nice silhouette. So I enjoy this style a lot better than the last dress. This I enjoyed wearing a lot more. However, the cons on this, first of all, never mind the fabric, because I knew from the get-go it wasn't the right fabric. It should have been something like a silk or a taffeta or something like that. So the things I learned with this, I did cartridge pleating for the first time. I not only did this once, I did it twice. I did it 3 times, plus the original time that I did to try to pleat the entire thing, like I had done for the last dress. The last dress I had just done the folded pleats, and I tried to do that originally on this, and I realized, no, it was too much fabric and it was too heavy. And I understood after the 3rd time of doing it, I totally understood the mechanics and the reasoning behind cartridge pleating. This was not just some snazzy technique that they did back then. This was a way to accommodate the vast amount of fabric that was in these dresses. And you just have no respect. Seriously. Tea gray. Sorry. I understood the mechanics after doing that many times, and I liked doing it. I really did. I enjoyed all of the hand stitching and the you know, attacking them all on, and I understand now about the mechanics of it and why. And it also enabled them, because I had done the bodice close to around the time that I was finishing that dress, the first dress, and that's during the time of my weight fluctuation. And so this was done and kind of set aside, and I was working for a few months on this, and well, maybe about a month and a half. And by the time I tried them on together, this skirt was just like, I would fasten it at the sides, it just literally fell down, and I was like, oh no, I've done this already. Like, at that time I had done it, the folding pleats, and 2 times for the cartridge pleating, and I had to do it again to size it down, and I had to cut down actually the skirt to make it smaller, and that was not fun. Now, this top is supposed to be attached to this skirt so that you don't see any of this waistband on either side, and it makes it look like it's one piece, which is beautiful. However, because the skirt then became so petite compared to the size of the top, even when this was laced the smallest that it is, like now, like this is very it's very big, and it would not have lined up all the way around to do the hooks and eyes. It would have been like bulging out in some sides, and so I didn't do it. I just kind of, that's one of the reasons why the photo that I took, I ended up taking, I was sitting down, and you can't tell, and it looks like it's one piece, and I'm happy because I just wanted a photo just for myself, just so I have the evidence of this work, because I don't have the space right now to display them all the time, and I'm just keeping them in a very big bin. And I'm not sure I'm going to do more, but I want to do more, if that makes sense. So the idea of starting with that one dress, working up to this dress, which is more complicated, and ultimately my goal was always to make one of those, I hate to say it, so cliche, Marie Antoinette, Versailles, big hoop de la, like a big, beautiful, wide-hipped, amazing, gorgeous dresses. But I felt like I needed to work up to that. So that is going to be something that I still in my heart want to do, just because I want to do it. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. Not, like I said, not a cause tuber. This is just the back. You can see how this, it was not measuring up. It was not the right size. This is literally laced up to the tightest, and it still was much too big for me. Anyway, that is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video, because I think so many times we have these dream projects, or these dream, I'll just speak for sewing, I'm not going to speak for everything, but these dream projects, these dream outfits, these dream, even like historical things that we really want to make. We've always been like, oh, I love that era, I love that style of dress, but I don't have enough experience. I don't know enough about that time. The people that are doing this are just so expert, and they just, they're doing everything by hand, and they have all the techniques perfected, and you really cannot let that stop you. Like, I had really almost zero experience in this kind of dressmaking, and I had the best time. I really did. I had the best time failing. I had the best time being frustrated. I had the best time marveling at the fact that in that time period, a few hundred years ago, people were making these by hand with a needle and thread, and that blows my mind. I made the majority of this on the machine. Granted, all this pleating was done by hand, and a lot of the finishing of the corset edges and everything were done by hand. There's still a lot of handwork, but it was just so incredible to be amazed at. In those days, not everybody would have been an expert dressmaker. Not everyone would have had the ability to have the most high-end materials, the most amazing finishes, and oftentimes dresses were remade through the years into the different styles that were popular, and so they'd take it all apart and refashion it into something. And I am sure in those days there were plenty of people like me who were not experts, who were just doing it the best that they could, and maybe even doing their own thing. This may not be historically perfect to have this kind of fabric with this kind of lace, with this kind of bow, and even this gold blingy, edging on here. But I did this my way. And I think that's the most important thing you need to remember, is whatever era, whatever style, whatever thing that you want to make. I mean, it could be making a whole set of handmade luggage. It could be making, a 1950s wardrobe. It could be recreating clothing from the Renaissance period, just because you just want to do it. During lockdown, I got a lot of perspective, and I thought, you know what? I might as well. I'm like 53 years old. I might as well make what I want to make, because life is short, and why not? Why am I waiting for someone's permission to do this? Like, really, why am I waiting for the validation for someone to say, okay, you are now an expert, you know enough about that, you're able to do it, you're allowed? That's ridiculous. Everybody has to start somewhere. Everybody has to start not knowing. I just had a whale of a great time doing this, and I hope it encourages you all to do it. And I hope to, even be making dresses that I can actually wear. If these fit me better, I would be wearing these. I just wouldn't care. I would be wearing these. In fact, I might still be wearing this skirt. I might wear it with a jean jacket and a tank top. I might wear, or refashion some of those other pieces into other items too. So I really appreciate you watching and just listening to my thoughts and my experience. And hello, we hope you have a great day, and we love you. Take care. Bye-bye.